Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and thank you for joining us for episode 141. On tonight's show, we'll be discussing and giving our match analysis of Wolves' 2-0 defeat at Sunderland. I know Nockie's delighted about that. We're going to ask the question, how did we get in this mess? Take some of your questions. There have been so many great questions this week. We'll try and spend a decent section amount of time on those, and also looking ahead to Burnley. I can't say I'm really looking forward to it, but we'll preview the game anyway. Nockie, this is going to be a bit of a tough show, but a quick shout out to Roger, who says, I'm scared to watch. Roger, I'm scared to listen to Nocky. But Nocky, your take on Sunderland 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0.
Oh, blimey. I wasn't angry. I wasn't frustrated. I was really upset by that performance because I thought that was an utterly gutless display. I thought there was a lack of fight. And it's the first time I've seen a lack of fight in that team this season. We had players there who were hiding. There was players that didn't want the ball. They weren't getting themselves into space. We were second to everything. Every 50-50 ball we lost. They were faster than us. They were fitter than us. They had more energy than we did. We looked like we were scared to be there, and we looked like we didn't want to be there. And there was a level of genuine fear in the team. I thought it was utterly pathetic. I thought it was a pitiful performance where it's a game where you want players to stand up and be counted. And I went into this, and I genuinely thought we could win the game. I had a really good feeling about this one. I thought we'll go into it. It's one of the first games they've had where they are expected to win, so that brings an added pressure to them. And I just thought after the last two games, we've got a chance here, but we turned up and we absolutely folded. We just rolled over and got our tummies tickled. And there were so many abject performances and so many players hiding that we just didn't give ourselves a chance. And I think we were poor on the pitch. We were poor in terms of the management as well. I mean, we're a goal down. We haven't managed a shot on target. And the first substitution you make is to bring on Kiana Hoover, who we've been trying to sell for the last 3 seasons, and that's on the 67th minute. We don't make an attacking substitution until the 76th minute when the game's almost gone. And the substitutions actually made us worse when we brought on more attackers. So collectively, I think there's a lot of players that need to have a really good long look at themselves in the mirror, because there was some pitiful, pathetic displays. And I think that collectively as a club, they should be absolutely ashamed of themselves, because that wasn't good enough in any way, shape or form. I can handle losing as a Wolves fan. If you can't handle losing, you probably shouldn't be part of this club. But there's acceptable ways to lose, and that wasn't acceptable for me. That was turning up, going through the motions, trying to avoid getting yourself into a dodgy situation, staying away from the ball as much as you can, and then just folding like a deck of cards. Not all of them. I thought Krejci had a good game. I thought there was a couple that tried to stand up and be counted. But there was a lot of players out there that let us down badly, and it was for me the worst performance of the season, and they should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. It was a disgrace.
Yeah, I went into the game as well. I know Tyler didn't, and he was right. But like going into the Leeds game, I genuinely thought we've got a real chance here, and I thought it would be the day we stepped up. I know we scored early against Leeds and threw it away. We didn't even manage to score or really particularly look like it against Sunderland. But there was a team at Sunderland, I thought early on, Sunderland looked like they were there for the taking for me. If we'd have pressed a little bit, I think there was goals to be had. But in the final third, there was just absolutely nothing at all. Strand Larsen completely bullied from start to finish. No idea how he finished the game. Arias spent most of his time trying to protect Doherty, then going the other way. I want him at the business end of the pitch, not tracking back. You've got 3 defensive running midfielders that you can help. You don't need him back there. Rodrigo was okay. I think he was busy, but it didn't get enough. But I'm just with you, Nocky. It was so flat, and as much as sort of territorially we squeezed in the second half, we never really looked like it. And just, I think not only many players didn't turn up, but the game management for the second game in a row for me was just absolutely nowhere to be seen. I don't understand that change. I didn't understand. I mean, granted, Chachwa sort of switched off for the short corner for the equaliser, but he's marked one of the best wingers out of the game. Doc's come back after having surgery on his broken wrist. Nothing against Doc. I'm not sure he should be starting there for that one. It's just a complete mess. I'm with you. You've articulated it better than I have. It's just a real low feeling, and I don't think I've ever been as resigned to relegation as much as I am now. Now, granted, there's always hope and there's always a chance. Win next weekend or whatever, and it could be back on. But it looked like a manager with no ideas and a team with no hope. Am I being too harsh, or is that the way most people are seeing it?
No, I feel exactly the same. I think the Burnley game people are touting it as a big game. It's pointless to me. It means absolutely nothing because I think regardless of that result, we're going to go down. You've touched on a few players there, and I don't like singling players out, but I think today's a day to probably do that. And in terms of Strand Larsen, he was an utter disgrace, his performance. People keep telling me he's not fit. It's absolute rubbish. He played for his national team midweek, and then he played a full 90 minutes for Wolves on the Saturday. And even if you're not fit, you can still challenge for the ball. You can still challenge aerially to try and win things. You can still make yourself available. You can still hold the ball up. You can still look like you want to be there. He was absolutely pocketed by a Dan Ballard, who is never a Premier League footballer. And you'll see that over the next couple of years when he drops back down the league. He's not a Premier League footballer. He never laid a glove on Ballard. Ballard absolutely bullied him for the game. He pocketed him. It was easy. It's the easiest 90 minutes Ballard's probably ever had. And it was so disappointing to see a player like that. Now, I don't know if he's sulking because he didn't get his big money move or whether he's just not as good as we thought he was, but that performance was a disgrace. That was nowhere near good enough. And he's not alone either. I thought John Arias, who was brilliant in the Club World Cup, he was hiding. He didn't want the ball. He never got himself into space to collect the ball. And when he did get the ball, he got rid of it as quick as he can. Whereas we thought when he came in, he was a player who was going to drive, he was going to get us up the field, he was going to bring us into good positions. He was hiding the whole game. It was just such a collective surrender, and that was the biggest thing for me. We surrendered in that game. We didn't compete with them. They ran all over us. They just ran through us, ran round us. We didn't want to stay with them. We gave up, and that's one thing I can't forgive. I can forgive poor performances. I can forgive mistakes. I don't blame Krejci at all for the goal because he was the only one who ran back and really busted it to try and get there. But I can't forgive those kind of performances collectively when you've just absolutely rolled over, you've waved the white flag and you've just surrendered. That's not acceptable at all. And I'm with you. I think whatever happens against Burnley, I'm resigned to being in the Championship next year. And my lad said to me that, if we do go down, it'll be good in a sense because he'll get to see some more wins, he'll get to see some more performances. I'm not so sure people realise the implications of getting relegated for this football club this season.
Yeah, I know quite a few people sort of took to social media to disagree with me when I talked about that 90, £100 million loan, saying everyone does it. Well, they're all established Premier League teams. Try taking that kind of debt into the Championship, sell off the team and see where we're at then. So, there's always a chance, Nocky, but it doesn't look particularly good at the moment. You are listening and watching episode 141 of the Wolves Report with our club captain, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. As always, we've been at live to get plenty of your comments involved. 51 comments so far. We're that busy yapping, we've not had a chance to even look at a single one of them. But Nocky, tactically, I know you say the players, you don't think a lot of them put a shift in and some of them that look like they give up. The one thing I would question is if they actually understood what was expected of them tactically, because there's one thing, I think people can look lost, they're still trying, but if they don't understand what's expected of them, to me, many of those players just looked genuinely lost. And I'm not saying they looked sort of crestfallen. They looked, well, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Get to the final third, and they just, other than the end, it was just lug it into the middle and see what happens for a team that's been in the Premier League that long.
Yeah, we had no identity at all, did we? How long have we been speaking about an identity? And Sunderland, you could see what they were trying to do. They were trying to get the ball wide. They wanted to win throw-ins so they could launch it into the box. They were trying to cross balls into the box. They were trying to pit us with speed. They were pressing us. They were trying to break with pace. You could see what their tactic was, and it worked as well. I don't know what we were trying to do. I genuinely don't. When you look at the way we set up, you would expect there'd be a style of play. We're going to push them through the middle, or we're going to try and bring them in centrally and use the fullbacks to bomb on because we had a little bit of pace on the left, not on the right. Or we're going to try and play through midfield. How are we going to play? You normally get an idea of what we're trying to do. We seem to come out of our own penalty area, bobble up to the midfield, try and make a little way up to the final third. Sorry, it's like World War III outside my house today. We're trying to bobble our way up to the final third. And then we don't know what to do, so we turn around, go the other direction, and end up back at the goalkeeper. Can you hear that?
Where have you moved to, Nocky?
I'm hoping Jeff's strapped to one of them, to be honest. We just didn't know we didn't know what to do. There was no obvious tactic, no obvious plan. We didn't have anyone running in behind. We didn't have anyone trying to make space. Strand Larsen wasn't coming short and he wasn't going deep. He was just static. There was no obvious way that we were playing at all. We were just very we don't know what to do. We're just going to make our way up and then we'll make our way back. And eventually someone will get bored, bang it 60 yards down the field and we'll end up defending again. Whereas Sunderland looked dangerous. In the first 25 minutes of the game, they scored, had one disallowed and hit the post. It could have been 3-0 in half an hour. And we did absolutely nothing. If you looked at the stats, you could be forgiven for thinking that it was a pretty even game. But it absolutely wasn't. They were far, far superior to us. And for a Premier League side who's been here 8 years, to be that comfortably beaten by a newly promoted side. For the second time this season, we've been comfortably beaten by a 2-goal margin by a newly promoted side. That is massive, massive alarm bells for me.
Yeah, it's a real concern. And I think when you play two newly promoted sides and you're beaten by 2 goals, and I know me and Tyler debated that heavily in the Leeds game, and again, the stats and numbers were pretty close, but Sunderland took their chances. Territorially, Wolves had more of the ball, but Sunderland did more damage in the business end. The same as Leeds, Wolves had more ball, but when they got into the business end, they were lethal. Wolves don't have that lethal edge anymore. The Strand Larsen that played in the Cup, injured, that scored those 2 magnificent goals, he was injured then. That was just after he was injured. Where is that guy? Let's talk about the first goal, Nocky. For me, there's a couple of people that caught wrong side. I thought Doc was out of position. I don't think there was enough closing down. There's just the simplest of 1-2s, and he absolutely ripped us apart, which is unusual because this back four hasn't really sort of been taken to the cleaners as such. It's looked like a solid outfit with Andre protecting. That goal was just like, it was like an adult team playing an under-15s team.
Yeah, I think Doherty got turned early in the move and he ended up sucked out a little bit towards the corner flag, and then they just played a nice 1-2. I expected Doherty to then be charging towards his own goal. He didn't. He was static. The whole back line was static, and the lads finished. I mean, I think it's an own goal personally because he kind of saves it and then whacks it back against his leg. I've seen a few people blaming Johnston. I'm not sure. From that range, you're trying to make yourself as big as you can.
You can't. If he's blasted a nutmeg, you can't.
Yeah,
I'm not going to blame the kid from there.
It's one of them things, but I think you should stop the supply. We let them play through us far too easily. And it's another player who's got his first goal for his new club against us, isn't it? It's not the first time it's happened this year. So, look, teams can open you up, teams can rip through you, but I think you've got to make it more difficult than that because we were far too static and we just sort of stood there ball watching while they played for us.
Yeah, and just quickly on to the second goal. This is just a classic counter, and there's no sort of fault of Krejci. I know people again looking at Johnson, but when the ball's deflected like that, it doesn't matter if you Peter Schmeichel. There's nothing to be said. I don't think I'm going to be looking at changing Johnson anytime soon because he's given us stability. I think he's been okay. I don't really think he's at fault for any of those. I just think a lost Wolverhampton Wanderers, a rudderless ship, a load of players that are probably should be doing better. But let's bring it on to the potential, what they should be doing, what they could be doing. As it stands, Nocky, Wolverhampton Wanderers are the worst team in the Premier League. There's no question about it. However, with the players that we have, we have multiple international footballers. I'm not sure the manager is getting anywhere near the potential. Granted, it's not a very good squad. It's probably our weakest one under the Fosun era in the Premier League, for sure. I don't think that's even in question. I still think there's enough there to be finishing 17th. So why is the manager looking absolutely lost and unable to get a tune out of hardly any of these players?
Are they as good as we think they are or we want them to be? And I know that we'll keep talking about 2 of them playing for Brazil and all this sort of stuff. Granit Xhaka was far superior to anything we had in midfield. And Gomez and Andre collectively didn't play particularly well, which didn't help. Our lowest points tally, I think, was 25 points under Mick. I don't see this team getting 25 points. So potentially this is the worst ever Premier League squad that we've had, which when you look at the personnel, you wouldn't expect that with some of the money that we've spent. I think from Vitor's perspective, he's making decisions I don't fully understand. I do get why he brought Doherty in, because just to bring a little bit of stability on that side, a little bit of experience.
Catchwell played that well last week, mate. He's dominated one of the best wingers in the league. And I know what you're going to say. He switched off for the goal. But Minte skins every fullback. He did not get a kick last week, and Sunderland have got pace wide. So I just didn't understand it.
No, I would have started Chachois, but I understand why he did it because of the environment, because of where we were. Maybe you wanted a little bit of someone with a bit more experience, a little bit of leadership out there. It's not a change I would have made, but I kind of understand why he did it. What I don't understand is why Tolu's getting 15 minutes here and there, because he came on and he probably in 5 minutes, he'd done more than Strand Larsen had the whole game. He was winning flick-ons. He was just occupying the centre halves. He was giving Ballard something to think about, which he hadn't had for the whole game. He seems to have a major issue with Fer Lopez. I feel like he's terrified to lose at the moment. I feel like losing is more important for him. Not losing is more important than going and winning football games at the moment. He's not committing to it. He's trying to almost make us as solid as he can and leave those flair players out of it. And I can see him reverting back to type. As soon as Hwang's back in, he'll drop him back in on that left-hand side because that's where he feels safest playing that team. He's lost his swagger. He's lost his flair. It feels like the writing's on the wall. And I think what was quite telling this time was the away supporters, because when you lose the away supporters, you've got a major problem. Then home supporters of any club will turn very, very quickly. Wolves fans away from home have generally been very patient when it comes to the team. They've not received stick this season because every game you've looked at them and you thought that they're putting it in, they're working, they're grafting. That was the first time the fans have turned, and that was a result of the performance that we put in collectively as a team. And when the fans start going through all the old songs, you know, the Nuno song was out, Connor Cody, Alvin Cavallero.
It happened with Gary O'Neill at Everton, didn't it? It was.
Yeah, when they come out, writing's on the wall.
So just tactically, Nocky, let's talk about a couple of things. So you mentioned Tolu coming on and having an impact. Now, Tolu's been here a while now. He should be fully fit. He's a professional footballer. Granted, you can cut him a little bit of slack at the start if he's not been getting game because he was expecting a move. He should be fully fit now. Yeah, you keep hearing Achilles injuries. He can't train multiple times a week. Yeah, he's gone away on international duty. I don't understand. So surely Tolo should be starting. For me, that makes no sense. It should be Strand Larsen that's being protected, and he comes on later in the game for Tolo when he's sort of got nothing left. I don't understand that. And for him to play the 90 minutes when he's clearly getting dominated, I can't accept that as a good decision. It's really poor for me.
But why did we sign Tolo? Why did we sign him? I'm not saying I don't like him as a player, but he's almost a carbon copy of Strand Larsen. He's just got more minerals, hasn't he? He's braver.
He's a bit quicker as well.
But there's no plan B, is there? When if you're almost going to swap like for like, the only thing you can potentially do to make it any different up front is to put Hwang up front, and we know how that ends. Well, the only other thing we've really done is to stick Jean Arias up front. So it was a strange signing if you're going to keep Strand Larsen for me, because you're not changing anything when they're on. And I know people think we can play the two together. Not a chance in hell that's going to work. You're never going to be able to play those two together. So it's a strange signing anyway, but I see enough from him to think he's going to be more of a danger than Strand Larsen at the moment. And we know Strand Larsen can finish, and we know he's a quality player, but I've never seen a number 9 as scared of his own shadow as he is. Whereas I think with Tolu, you get players around him, he's going to win flick-ons, he's going to win headers, he's
genuinely just going to cause trouble as well because he's so massive.
Exactly, yeah.
He's only got to stop the centre-back winning the ball, and then it creates opportunities for others, pretty much like Sasa did, but obviously in a much more mobile way. So it's a really good question. I don't know why Tolu wasn't given a start, and I certainly don't know why Strand Larsen didn't finish the game. Now, that for me is absolutely crazy, but you touched on it earlier on. The first substitution of the game when you're chasing the match, I don't get it. This is a man that seems now a manager that's like he's completely panicking. Surely you make the changes earlier. Like if your centre forward's getting dominated, change it. Let's bring some more legs on. Let's try something a little bit different. But to bring on, hello, my dog's in the background now trying to make an appearance. What I don't understand is that first change. A player, and no disrespect, who didn't complete a single cross all pre-season comes on for the right back, and the right back you brought on then plays on right wing. Again, it's exposing the abysmal window we've had when we're using a right back to play as a forward in the Premier League. He got clean through. It might have been Tolu that got that. I can't remember. That sort of created that space for him. But it was the finish of a right back that's a bit part player. For me, it's a mess. The manager seems now, I don't know the style. We don't have an identity. I don't know the plan. There's not regular substitutions. There's almost seems to be certain favourites with certain factors in the team now. I'm really concerned now. For me, I like the guy. He saved Wolverhampton wonders last season, and I'm really grateful. As I tweeted after the game, now that credit's gone. He's now in his overdraft, and he needs to come good on Sunday. Otherwise, I think we're past the point of no return anyway. But just to give us some hope and to give us something for the season, Wolves have to win on Sunday. There is no excuse. I don't care how ugly it is. I don't care what the team is. It can be disgusting. Wolves have to win. No excuses.
Squad's just so poor, though, isn't it? I mean, you're bringing on Hoover, who we've been trying to sell for 3 seasons, and he works hard. I'm not going to be critical of the kid, but he's just not at this level. And Jackson Tachara as well. He was probably our 3rd or 4th choice right back when we got him. So he's not at the level you want him to be at. And he just goes through one-on-one and hits the corner flag. And again, I don't want to be critical because I think he's playing at the level he can play at. But he's a sprinter, really, isn't he? He's a fast player, but he's not going to affect the game. I know we had a similar start last season and we didn't win until November. But last season, at this stage of the season, we kind of played Arsenal, Chelsea, Forest, Newcastle, Villa, Liverpool, City, Palace and Brighton. You compare that to what we've had this year, where you would think 2 of the 3 promoted teams we've played a Brighton side who've not been really at it this season. You've got an opportunity. Everton, where you've got an opportunity, and Spurs away, who are really up and down. So if you were sat on probably 7 points now, where we sort of should be, you'd have a little bit of belief. But to be to be the only team is in the top 7 divisions of English football without a win, and that's absolutely horrendous. I just don't think you can recover from that. And last season,
it's embarrassing, is what it is.
We're
on here because we love our football club. It's an unhealthy obsession, but it's what brings us all together. It's what brings people to listen to the podcast. We're very grateful for that. It's how me, you, and Tyler are mates. It's what brings us all together, and we talk about it. We love it. But at the moment, that manager, some of those players, and certainly the chairman, are embarrassing us. And I'm not afraid to say that because it needs calling out at the moment. Yeah, we are an embarrassment.
Yeah, I mean, last season was different because you had 3 really poor teams. You had Leicester, you had Southampton, and you had Ipswich, who didn't win a game really, similar to when we did. So you had 3 teams who looked like they were going to be adrift. We haven't got that this season because everyone's kind of picking points up. So you're seeing it more this year. But collectively, when Alan have been saying it, if you keep circling the drain, if you keep selling the crown jewels every season, it is going to catch up with you. And the arrogance to think that the 3 promoted teams are always going to save you, it just shows how disillusioned, how delusional the owners are at this football club that we can carry on year after year and do that, because we've been asking for this and we absolutely deserve it. The fans don't deserve it, because I think the fans at Sunderland are absolutely magnificent. Fans don't deserve this, but collectively as a club, we absolutely deserve this, because we've been playing Russian roulette really for the last 4 seasons, haven't we? And it's been coming, and this is the one season we're not going to get away with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not over till the fat lady's singing, but she's got her final songs out, hasn't she? Unfortunately, this is the episode 140.
I was going to say, you've gone from thinking, can we stay up? And then you go to, can we beat Derby's points record? Now it's almost, can we win a game? Because it's not going to happen. But the way we are at the minute, there's a genuine risk we're not going to win a game all season. Is the way it feels, because they've just forgotten how to win. So the way that the collapse of this football club over the last 5-6 years is it's something that should be studied, really, because I've never seen anything like this for a club that's not in financial ruin.
Well, we're going to come on to that after we've done the player ratings. I think everyone that follows this podcast knows my opinion on that. But let's go on to the player ratings. This is going to be absolutely disgusting. I mean, where do we start? I'll start with Johnson. I know people are criticising for that first goal, but a keeper has to make himself big in those situations. Sometimes he gets nutmegged. I'm not going to put any blame there. If you're having the ball blasted at you by a professional footballer from 5 yards away, there's no chance. So for me, there's not much he can do. I don't really think he had loads to do particularly, but I don't think he did a lot wrong. So middle of the road. Nocky, tell me about Hugo Bueno and Matt Doherty.
I thought Bueno was poor. I think he was poor. He gave the ball away a lot. He wasn't taking on his man. He wasn't getting balls in the box. I think it was a pretty poor performance from Hugo, probably his worst since he's been back. Doherty, yeah, I love Matt Doherty as a person. I think he brings he brings a real good level of experience, and he seems like a decent bloke. But the fact that our captain for this game is Matt Doherty, it shows you where we are at this moment in time. Because as much as I like him, he should be nowhere near our first 11. He should be in the coaching team by now. He should be with Andy Thompson on comms. He shouldn't be sat there playing for us at right back, captaining us. He's gone past that point. So he was poor. He got caught out badly for the first goal. He didn't do anything of any benefit really. So poor performance from him.
Yeah, the problem is for me, I think Doc, we talked about it last year, he earned his place at right centre back because it suited him. It allowed him to get a little bit forward, but it wasn't over reliant on his pace. I think he got caught out once last season against Forest, but he's a solid number because he's really strong in the air. I don't think in that position, in that formation, when you're quite narrow, you'll need your fullbacks to be getting on supporting. That's the width in the team. He's not going to be able to do that anymore. So, and then I think having him there as well, John Arias spent half the game protecting him, and then there's just no out ball whatsoever. So yeah, poor. Moving on to the two centre backs, I'm not sure I can be overly critical of either, to be honest. We've let in 2 goals, but I can't think of any real clangers or mistakes. Again, I thought
2 best players for me.
Yeah, I think Krejci, again, he looks like the one good bit of summer business we've done of the £140 million or whatever we've spent. I don't know, 100 million. But Santiago Bueno captained his country international break. Fantastic achievement. Someone that's sort of never really let Wolves down, but been overlooked because he's quite slow. But for me, I'm not going to change from those two. I don't think those two were the problem. The problem was the ball kept coming back. Moving on to the midfield 3. Now, this is something I want to talk about before, but I forgot, so I'm going to bring it up now, Nocky. We've got a problem with Joe Gomez and Andre. I'm not going to get onto Manezzi yet. And the problem is, if you play a back 4, it really suits Andre because he can be there neat and tidy, completing that triangle. But Joe Gomez cannot play there. You've only got to look back to when O'Neill tried to sort of accommodate Andre, Joe Gomez and Mario Lemina. Gomez struggled then. Gomez can't play in a 3-man midfield. For whatever reason, he's a professional footballer and he should be fine. It just doesn't suit him. So Wolves have got a massive decision to make. Which one of them is the most important player in the system? Because Andre for a 4 looks fine. Wasn't particularly great on Saturday, but he's the one that always looks better in that system. But when they're playing as a pair, for me, it's Gomez that looks better. Can you see that as well? Is that making sense?
I think you're bang on, but I don't see any way to change it. Your only real viable option to swap him for is Bellegarde. I don't see him doing that, but I completely agree. I think in a 2, they're okay without ever looking like they're going to threaten the other end of the pitch. In a 3, Andre looks better than João Gomez does. He seems to get pushed up a little bit, doesn't he? He goes maybe a little bit up to the left, and he doesn't seem to like that. But I think collectively they were both very, very poor, and it's probably quite telling that Manezzi was the pick of the 3 and had our best opportunity. They weren't at it at all. I don't think they hid. They're not 2 of the players I'd look at as hiding. I don't think they're those sort of players, but I think they lost that midfield battle quite badly, and they just weren't. That for some reason, one reason or another, whether it is the positional side of things, there's an argument it is, but at the same time, our 2 best performances have come with those 3 midfield. So there's an argument that maybe it was just one of those days for them. But when both of you probably your 2 prized assets have collectively a shocking game, you're always going to struggle to get a result.
Yeah, and just moving on to Marshall Manezzi, again, we know he's technically limited. Incredible engine, incredible application, but and I think he had one good shot and he chested back for one other opportunity. But I mean, there are 2 big moments in the game, but overall his play was poor. Knocker, he kept slipping over and falling. Now, like you said, our best performances have come with those 3 in the middle, so I don't see that changing. But we've got a real problem, and Tyler sort of alluded to this as well. There's nothing coming from them in terms of creativity. There's no assists. There's no real goals in there. I don't think Manetti's got one. There's nothing really going on there. So with that in mind, then you mentioned Bellegarde. That's someone that can drive forward and get further forward more. But is the problem that we're looking at, because Strand Larsen's not holding the ball up at all, and the ball keeps coming back, it's bringing everyone else down. Is that a possibility as well?
I think at this moment in time, I'm not swapping Menezes for Bellegarde because I get your point. They're not creating a lot, but I think Menezes is the one who probably is creating. And he had a really good effort that the keeper did quite well to save. You expect him to save it, but it's still a decent effort. And then on another day, when he chests that one back, I mean, how João Gomez puts that wide, that's an awful finish. So he could have had a goal and an assist, or at the very least, he should have had an assist. So I don't think Menezes is a problem at the moment. If you're going to swap Bellegarde in, it's going to have to be for João Gomez at this moment in time because Menezes is the one player who's got a little bit of an engine. He looks like he's driving, he gets us forward, and he has been involved in some of our better moments in this formation. So for me, if you're going to take one out, it's not going to be Menezes at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. I think that midfield stays. Just got to find a formula. But you know what? I don't care who plays as long as Wolves win, and that doesn't look like it's coming anywhere near anytime soon. Moving on to the front three, Nocky. I thought Rodrigo Gomez was busy. There's a nice little 1-2 in the first half with Hugo. I think Sunderland took a little while to settle, and that's when Wolves should have pounced. That's when them two looked the liveliest, but kind of died off after that. I'll do Arias as well, and you can do Strand Larsen, beg your pardon. The problem for me with Arias, he's clearly a technically gifted footballer, and he can make things happen. But he's not going to make things happen when he's having to come and get the ball off Matt Doherty. He's not going to get things when he's there. This is somebody for me that he's more of a forward that can make things happen at the business end. Now, I understand it's a team game and you've got a track. But if your most creative players are spending most of the time protecting the fullback, you're not going to get the best from him. Granted, he's fit, but for me, Nocky, there's a positional issue there. I want him close to Strand Larsen or Tolu, picking up that pocket, little 1-2, getting a shot off. He's getting nowhere near the goal to have a shot at the moment. The guy can ping a ball and the guy can put a through ball in. Getting nowhere near it because he's too busy in his own half.
Yeah, but I also want to see more from him. I want to see him wanting the ball. I want to see him coming and collecting and then driving. I want to see him looking like he doesn't just want to give it away. It's like a hot potato whenever he gets it. So I do think he's got quality, but I think he's hiding at the minute. I'll be totally honest. And yes, we can use the excuse he's got to come and get it deep off Doherty, but I don't see that drive. I don't see the desire. I don't see him pulling into space to try and collect the ball. I want him dictating and dominating the game. As much as we criticised Matheus Cunha for some of his antics last season, when things were going bad, he would come back into midfield and he would demand the ball and he would take you up the field. That's the kind of player that I want to see him in. And even a Pablo Sarabia, you know, when he come off the bench, he did it against Ipswich. He took the game by the scruff of the neck. That's the sort of player Jean Arias should be. But for me, at this moment in time, he's doing everything he can not to get the ball because he's terrified and he's just playing within himself. It's my opinion at the minute. You can look as he's settled yet. He's been here long enough now to be a lot better than he is. He just doesn't look like he doesn't look an improvement on anything we've got so far, and he's definitely not a Cunha improvement based on what I've seen.
Yeah, just one other thing on Johnny Harris as well, and this isn't a slight on Doherty because you can only do what you can do. As I mentioned earlier on, when you've got a 4-3-3, it's quite narrow, and you need your fullbacks providing the width. If you've got Menezes and João Gomez and Andre to cover your fullbacks, there's no excuse for them not getting forward. So for me, that was one of the reasons that Chachwai should have played, because then I think if Arias has got an overlapping pass, then he hasn't got to look back and give it to Menezes or Andre or to Gomez. He can then support. That's no slight on Doc because he's not that flying wing back he was 6-7 years ago. But if you're playing that formation, for me, you need absolute motors left and right. And he didn't get that because there wasn't really anyone flying down. But last but not least, probably least from his performance, Jørgen Strand Larsen.
I don't like digging players out normally, but I thought that was an absolute coward's performance from Strand Larsen. I thought he was desperate not to have the ball. He didn't engage Ballard at all. He didn't win anything aerially. He didn't physically dominate. When we got balls wide, he wasn't getting himself in front of his marker and making him available to collect a cross into the penalty area. I thought he was hiding. I thought he was hiding away from the game. Whether he's got the hump because he didn't get his move, I don't know. But I thought I tweeted after the game, which I probably shouldn't have done because I was a little bit emotional around. I used another word for cowardice when I was describing him, but I felt that performance was one of the most cowardly performances I've ever seen from a centre forward, especially one with his reputation, and we nearly got 70-odd million for him, to be dominated by a championship centre back the way he was. I saw a lack of effort. I saw a lack of fight. I saw a lack of desire. I saw a player who was purely going through the motions. I thought that was one of the most pathetic, revolting performances from a Wolves player that I've seen for years. That was a man who didn't want to be there, and I thought it was a disgrace.
Just sit on the fence, Nocky. I'll mark you down as a maybe for that one. This is episode 141 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. Just moving on before we go on to the questions, we're going to talk about now, how did we get into this mess? Now, I've expressed my concerns about the way the football club is operated and run. Now, we had a great couple of years, but Wolves look a million miles away from there now. The players, the feel around the place, the decay of the stadium, the drop in the standard, the switch to the self-sustainable model, which unless you have some serious scouting and stability at the club, you're never going to do. Now, I want to talk about this. I'm really concerned about Jeff Sheehan. This is a clip from an interview he did from a podcast recently.
Maintain that.
I feel the 2 years with Nuno in the Premier League and was not so stable for us because we were a little bit lucky sometimes on the pitch and to win a game, and we played quite defensively, so we played 3-5-2, sometimes 3-4-3.
So just for those listening who thought they haven't heard correctly, that's Jeff Shee saying our most successful manager in 45 years at this football club that give us an FA Cup semi-final, European quarter-final, first-time promotion and 7th place finishes, thinks our manager was lucky. Just listen to that again once more.
It was a challenge to maintain that.
I feel the 2 years with Nuno in the Premier League and was not so stable for us because we were a little bit lucky sometimes on the pitch and to win a game, and we played quite defensively, so we played 3-5-2, sometimes 3-4-3.
Nocky, this is the man that's in charge of keeping Wolverhampton Wanderers in the Premier League and guiding us towards our bright future.
He's just a prat, isn't he? I mean, that is... How can you possibly be lucky? You don't achieve what Nuno achieved and you're lucky. You don't do that. We were organised. You speak about identity. Wolves had a clear identity. The wing-backs were absolutely vital. You'd have Cody pick it up. He'd feed it into Ruben Neves. Neves would look for one of the wing-backs. You'd then bring in a Jimenez. You'd have a Dharma overlapping. You'd have Jota overlapping. We had genuine quality in that team and we were organised. No one wanted to play Wolves. And we were a team that people feared coming to Molineux, and we didn't fear anyone at all. We felt like we could win games. For him to say it's lucky, that shows a massive lack of football knowledge because there was nothing lucky about that. That's a man making excuses. That's someone who realises the situation we're in and he's looking for a little bit of a scapegoat. Yes, we played defensive because our whole system was built around breaking and using our wing-backs with pace. That's not playing defensive. That's playing intelligent, sensible football. So how we can come to that conclusion, I mean, that is... But this is the same guy who thinks we had a good window, isn't it? So this is what you're working with. But the fact he's as high up in a position he is in a Premier League football club with that level of football knowledge is absolutely terrifying. He wouldn't be chairman at any other club in the top 2 divisions.
Not a chance. Just a quick shout out to the Business of Sport gents. I spoke to them. They let me use their clips off their podcast. That podcast is available in full. I think it was recorded in pre-season as about an hour and 20 of Jeff being asked questions about the football club and esports. I'm sure you'd love to hear about that. But the full interview too available on the Business of Sport podcast. I wanted to highlight that point, Nocky. People say, well, you're digging Jeff out. Well, I am, because he's in charge of our football club. He's told us we had a good window. He's told us Nuno was fortunate, yet we've had season ticket prices that were ridiculous 2 years ago. Championship football for Champions League prices, Nocky. There's a real concern, and I don't know where Wolves go from here under Jeff Shee. I've tweeted a lot the last few days because I've been pretty angry. But what I said was, Fosun needs to change their man and their strategy, or they need to sell and move on. It's one or the other for me, Knocker.
Yeah, I think I'm not a Jeff Shee fan at all. I think there's other things at work here as well. We can't overlook Vitor, we can't overlook Tete because they were given almost carte blanche to do what they wanted in the transfer window. I'm not saying they were in control of the outgoings. They certainly had a budget to work to, and I'd say the window, with the exception of probably Krejci, has been a complete and total disaster. So you can't blame Jeff for everything, But I think the incremental year-on-year drop that we've seen, you can absolutely blame on Jeff, and the season ticket price hike, the state of the football stadium now, is just not acceptable at all. And my nervousness is when we go down, he's probably going to say, well, you've got more games next season, so we'll keep the prices as they are. And you're going to end up with 15, 18,000 in the ground. He's just cut adrift from us, isn't he? When you watch that, and I would suggest Wolves fans don't watch it just yet. Give yourselves a few days to recover from the weekend. Because some of the comments he makes in there, it felt to me like he was esports is his favourite thing. That's what he wants to do. Wolves is almost something he has to do because it's part of his job, but he hasn't got a vested interest in it, is the way it felt to me when I watched that podcast. I just think that he's just a really, really poor choice. And I don't think he should be in this role. I don't think he's done anything to keep his position, and he seems very much cut adrift from what the fans actually want and what the fans can afford to do. He's priced out so many people in a working class city where we're all struggling at the moment, aren't we? And he's cut people adrift from being able to follow their football team, and then he's complaining about the atmosphere at Molineux. So it's a vicious circle with him at the moment. He's someone who should have been removed from his duties a few years ago if Wolves were ever looking to genuinely progress.
Well, this is it. You've got to look at Fosun, really, and I've been reluctant to call Fosun out, and I've not been disrespectful to them. But if they employ him, and if they're happy with the job he's doing, then we need to look above him because he's clearly not got it right, and it's been a stinker. Earlier on as well, just to finish off on this section, I tweeted out, has anyone questioned why Jeff and Fosun face little to no local scrutiny? Who is ringing them up and asking them about their investment and specifically the job the chairman is doing? Could any local or national journalists please confirm they've contacted Fosun to ask these important questions? I had one response from a journalist. I'm going to be respectful and not name them, but someone who I get on really well with that has tried numerous times to have that conversation. So I don't think there's enough people doing that, but someone did. But it's frustrating.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because you spoke earlier about you haven't been disrespectful to Fosun. These are still, and it sounds daft, these are still some of the best years we've ever had because we've been in the Premier League consecutively for 8 seasons. We've never achieved that before. So you
are we going to? You could say that, and statistically, it's true, Nocky. But who's enjoyed the last 3 years? It's just been deal off. It's been awful.
I'm completely with you, but the point I'm making is we're still in that Premier League, and they've been a part of that. Where other managers and owners haven't managed to do that. I think where the real frustration for me is with the local journalists, and we've got some really good local journalists, and I'm not talking about kind of your radio people here who are doing some fantastic work. I think the local journos who are responsible for really asking the questions, they've got a relationship with the club they don't want to lose, and in order to not lose that, they're not going to ask those difficult questions, which is just the reality of the job they're in. They've got to toe the line to a certain extent, and even if you were to get through to him and ask those questions, he ain't going to answer you honestly anyway. So you're almost cut adrift from it, unfortunately, because we haven't got that relationship now. We haven't got that ability. He used to go into the pub, didn't he, when he first got here and have a little chat with the fans, a little chinwag. He's totally absent now. You very rarely see him, and when you do, he's kind of hiding out in the stand and not really wanting to engage with anyone. It's just where we are as a club at the moment, and it's getting worse by the day.
Absolutely. This is episode 141 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. We currently have 1,228 live viewers. I say this every week. I am really, really grateful. We are really grateful for the ongoing support, the follows, the likes, the listens. It really is appreciated. And I'm absolutely delighted with those numbers for a live show. We're obviously hurting the same as you guys, but
the right state is sent there in the Wolves support to sit through this after that weekend as well. You're going to go bang into heads against the wall.
When people speak Knocky, they say they like listening because, well, the same as me, I listen and read on Twitter because I want to know if people see the same things as I do, if we're feeling the same pain, and that's what we're doing now. We're having group therapy and getting it off our chest, and we've turned it into a podcast that some people like, and it is really appreciated. Let's get on to some questions. Roger said he was scared to watch. I think we've done that already. John T now asks, are there any plans to make Jeff Fosun aware of fan feeling, apathy in the stands, yet frustration and anger on social media? What's the middle ground? That's a really good point. Some of the away fans did turn on Saturday, but the support was tremendous throughout. Again, Knocky was talking about that feel of that resigned to the current situation. So you're singing the old songs and you're just enjoying your day out as opposed to anything else. To Jonty's point, though, Jeff Fosun fan feeling, it's only a matter of time. I mean, people have asked me about protests and stuff. I mean, I'll talk to anybody. If you've got any ideas and I like it, I'll happily support if I like it. I think we need to keep the upper hand and be, I'm not, how do I say this? You need to get your message over, but not drop below a certain standard. You know what I'm trying to say, Nocky?
Yeah, I'm not sure Molyneux's capable of it at the moment. I really don't. There almost seems to be a genuine acceptance that this is where we are. I think if you were to go back 10, 15 years ago, Molyneux would have been absolutely poisonous by now, and it's not at the moment. We've been slightly sanitised by years in the Premier League. I think Burnley, if they go a goal in front, you may, for the first time, see a very, very toxic Molyneux. I'm kind of with you. Whatever you do, it can't be, you don't want people doing some ridiculous protest where people get hurt or stuff getting thrown on the pitch. And you want to back the team as well, because yes, I've dug them out for their lack of effort at Sunderland. It's the first time I've seen that this season. So what you don't want to do is sabotage your own team. I think if you're going to protest, there's lots of different ways of doing it. You can do it before the game. You can do it after the game. You can not buy the merchandise. Fosun are absolutely money driven. I think they wouldn't like their reputation damaged with protests, but at the same time, they're all about the cash. So if people weren't buying anything, if people didn't buy the food, they didn't buy the programmes, they didn't buy the merchandise, they'd feel a little bit of a hit on that. But I think they're so cut off from what is going on at the moment. It's going to be very difficult to get any kind of message across to Fosun at the moment, unfortunately.
And the question is, do they really care what's being said on social media? I'm not sure they really do. This sort of feeds into it a little bit deeper. Hayden asks, John T. Bolloway, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Hayden says it's just social media noise about fans being unhappy, fans not bothered inside the stadium, and fan groups not doing anything to represent how fans feel. Is it just down to fan groups, though, Hayden? I would say it's down to everybody. It's down to you as an individual. If you're not happy, we can all do something about it. And like I said, I know I spoke to a few of the sort of content creators about this. If people have got ideas of how they want to respectfully display and show their anger about the current situation, do something. You're allowed to do it. It's not a crime. As long as you are respectful, you can sing and you can show whatever you want. So yeah, by all means, but talk, commit some suggestions.
I disagree with the fans not being bothered. I mean, I don't think you should confuse disappointment with apathy. I think at the moment the fan base are hurting. I think we're all hurting, we're all suffering, and there's still a desire to perhaps support the team as much as you possibly can. And we've got last year, which is probably what the last few people are clinging on to now that we're in a similar position and we got out of it. The fans are certainly bothered and they're certainly hurting. And there has been a few sort of movements. I know that the people who look after the flags are going to kind of withdraw them now because the atmosphere is not right.
People are still carrying on for now, but I think the problem was there. Okay. Some of those guys doing that were getting abused, and I just think that's not nice. Like, everyone's entitled to opinion, but those guys are giving up their time to make Molyneux look better to help create it. So I certainly wouldn't be digging out those dudes because there's some great blokes there. They're giving up their time. They I know there's various things to try and sort of raise money for the flags that support the team. I hope, those guys carry on because they do a great job. I don't want them being dug out at all because they're trying to do something at the moment with the atmosphere, which is poor. Yeah,
I completely agree. And digging out supporters for trying to do something is absolutely not the way to go. I think people are voting with their feet. The attendances are poor. When was the last time we actually had a sellout?
It's going to be bad on Sunday.
It's going to be bad. And I do think that could be the day where you do see a toxic Molyneux for the first time in some time. Because if Burnley come and they get a goal and
with a Tolu hat-trick, son, there'll be no anger then.
I don't think so. I don't see that coming. But I think you could see it against Burnley. But if there are going to be protests, let's do them in the right way. Let's not get ourselves in a position where we make ourselves look stupid.
Absolutely. Hayden and John C, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Back to tactics now. Borley says, evening Borley, how do we get out of this mess? That's pretty important now. As it stands, Borley, we are far more likely to get relegated than we are stay up. So I think the manager come pretty close at Brighton and Spurs to doing something we should have done. I think his own negative tactics cost him. So we've proven we can take the lead. We've proven we can create chances, but we've just sort of collapsed against the promoted team. How do we get out of it? Play the right players in the right positions, play attacking football, be braver. There is talent in this squad. It's nowhere near as talented as it has been recently, but you need to be positive. Wolves are not going to stay up by tucking in and pinching a goal. It's just not going to happen with these players. For me as well, you need to play to people's strengths, and we're not doing that. I talked about Arias getting stuck in his own half. Strand Larson, he feeds off great crosses into the box. When's he had any supply line? He got bullied on Saturday, but in and around the penalty spot on 6-yard box, he's a finisher. We saw that against West Ham in the cup. The guy can finish. When's he had that service? So for me, play to our strengths, play attacking players, and if we can find some pace from somewhere in the team, Nocky, we probably could do with doing that as well.
Yeah, I think this is how do we get out of this mess, or can we get out of this mess? I mean, there's a few variations you can try. I think we're comfortable with the system we've got now. And I do agree he needs to be braver. And I think that doesn't just involve tactically. I think he needs to be brave with the selection now and take Strand Larson out and try and give Tolu a little bit of a run.
Well, Strand Larson has done nothing to suggest he should keep his place. What's keeping him in his place? He got a juicy new contract. He's on huge money, and we turned down 55 million quid. I'm not interested if you were free and you're 50. If you should be in the team, you should be in the team. And at the moment, he's done nothing to warrant that place in the side.
Yeah, he's reverting back to type, isn't he? I mean, that's why. I mean, Hwang's not done anything to stay in, but if he was fit, he'd still be playing for us. I think he's trying to go back to what he thinks he knows and what he thinks will work. I don't think the quality's there to get out of this season. I don't think there's 3 teams that we're going to be better than for the duration of this season. So getting out of this is a real challenge now. I don't know how we do it other than trying to maybe be a little bit more aggressive, play a little bit more on the front foot. And when we do get ourselves into a lead, is back your team, to back your players to go and win you the football match, and don't start dropping in a centre half on 60 minutes and try and shut up shop, because we're not capable of doing that. So the manager's got to manage better than he is. But the players have got to take responsibility as well. They've got to show a pair now, and they've got to be willing to bleed for the shirt to go and get us points, because you can't just win it with tactics. You've got to have a little bit of fight on the pitch, and at the moment, I just don't see that.
Borley, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. This week's stinker comes from Luke Bailey. I think we've talked about this a few times. It's a little bit of fun to the show. Luke Bailey says, as a fan, would you be happier if we finished rock bottom but won of the domestic cups, or scrapped safety but got nowhere near winning silverware? I think we're down anyway, Luke. So, and I was 8 months old when Wolves won the League Cup. Quite hard for me to remember. But yeah, Nocky was there. Nocky was 10 then. But you offer me a trophy in relegation. From a business point of view, it's an absolute disaster. But I go to football matches for memories and to win games. I go from days with my mates out to take my mum to the games, to take my kids to the games. Give me a day at Wembley winning a trophy. Right, I've seen enough relegation scraps now. Last 4 years, it's been pathetic. Selling our best players, progressively getting worse. As Nocky says, circling the drain. Now we're heading firmly down the plug hole. We might not be back for a long time. Get me that silverware. League Cup, in the Championship, Conference League football. It's dreamy. We're going to Albania on a Thursday night, Nocky, and then we're going to Stoke on Sunday. Magical times, Nocky.
Oh, 100%. I'd take that. And I made a tongue-in-cheek joke last season that I wasn't worried about going down. I was worried about staying up because of what it would mean for this season, and it's absolutely come true because it's a disaster. If we were to stay up this year, we'd do exactly the same next year, but we've got less assets to sell. So if you offered me a cup and we got relegated, I'd rip your hand off for that, because that's a memory no one can ever take away from you. You don't really remember. You remember the 6 in a row, but it's not as special as going and winning the FA Cup or the League Cup. So if you offered me one of them in relegation, yeah, I'd rip your hand off for that.
Unfortunately, Luke, I don't think we're going to win the cup. I think we're going to stay up at the moment. But Wolves have got Chelsea next Wednesday night, Nocky. A week Wednesday, is it? At Molineux. So far, get up your tickets. There's only 25,500 tickets left. So yeah, snap them up while you can get them. Only joking for those who don't like me saying that. Luke, thank you for your question on the Wolves report. Dave, how much is the squad not good enough, and how much is the manager not getting the best out of them? Is there any manager that could keep this squad up even with 100 million to spend? I think we talked about this briefly, Nocky. I do think there's some good players, but I don't think anyone is performing to their potential. I don't think we've not found our best way to play. We're certainly not playing to Strand Larsen's or Tolo's strengths. If Wolves were in touching distance, and I mean sort of 4 or 5 points come January, and they spent 100 million on 3 fast forwards, I think Wolves would stay up. I don't see Wolves spending 100 million in January, and I don't think Wolves will be in 4 or 5 points of survival come then as well. So, yeah, I think there's 100 million to spend, and you're in touch. There's not many of the promoted teams that could spend that. A lot of them have spent that already. Well, I think one team haven't they? So yeah, there's one team that spent loads. The other 2 haven't spent so much. But
yeah, Sunderland has spent.
Yeah, Sunderland has spent a lot of money. The others have not so much. But to answer your question, if Wolves had a new manager and they were close and they spent 100 million, that sell 3 players, yeah, I think they'd stay up. But I think that's unlikely. Okay.
Yeah, I think 100 million from where we are in the table is going to give you a real good chance, isn't it? I don't think the current squad's good enough to stay up. The problem you've got is if you've got 100 million at Christmas and you're 12 points adrift, who's going to come to your football team at that point? So you're probably scratching around, aren't you? It's more likely you're almost planning for next season at that point. But there is some talent in this squad. There's not a great deal, but there is some talent in there. So if you could kind of build around those key players, maybe get Andre and Gomez playing well, and maybe get some goals out of Tolu, and then you've got Krejci and Bueno. You've got a little bit of a spine to work with. So if you were to put some pace in and around them,
well,
a new option up front as well is a big one for me.
This is it, Nocky, and the one thing. I mean, I made a message on Twitter. JP from Concept Scouting earlier on. He was talking about some of the players that are playing in this sort of development team tonight. The pace in that team, and JP mentioned some of the players that you could bring into the first team squad, and they're all players of the profile the manager talked about at the end of last season. Players that can go one-on-one, players that can do something by themselves. We didn't sign a single player pre-season that can stand a fullback up or a defender, drops a shoulder and go. Not one of them. The one thing the manager said he needed, and we didn't get one. Aït-Nouri could do it. Cunha could do it. Nelson could run past people with no end products, and Sarabia could sort of pick a pass from anywhere. Not replaced. Wolves are downgraded in every position. So yeah, Dave, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Sean says, failing to beat Burnley must be the final straw for VP. That said, who realistically would take this job, knowing that we're a selling club with any quality constantly being diluted? Does he lose his job, Knocker? Is that the end if he loses to Burnley?
It's hard to see him keep his job, but then we kept O'Neill a long time after we probably should have pulled the trigger. So I wouldn't put anything past this current regime, especially because we've just given him a nice Gucci new contract. Although you would hope there's some kind of get out of jail free card in that. Who would take the job? I don't think we'd be short for suitors at all. We're a Premier League club. If you were willing to throw 3 million at someone to keep you in the division, I'm pretty sure we'd have a few options. The worry is who's actually going to be about. I mean, for me, I'd go and get Sean Dyche now if it was me. And I know it's not a manager that's
going to Forest. About to sign for Forest, isn't he? 3-year deal.
He's not a sexy manager, is he? But he's a sort of guy who get the best out of Tolu and Strand Larsen up front. Other than that,
Tyler and Strand Larsen up front.
Tolu. Tyler would probably be better than Strand Larsen up front at the moment. So yeah, I mean, who's available? You can pluck all the names you want, but you know for a fact it's going to be another Bruno Lage. It's going to be another Vitor Pereira. It's going to be someone that you've probably not really heard of coming in because we don't buy ready-made Premier League players, and we certainly don't buy ready-made Premier League managers. So you can sack him if you want, but I don't see us getting much of an improvement. You might get an initial bounce, which would be good, but I don't know.
We haven't even got a Premier League ready chairman or ground at the moment. But Sean, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Bobby coming in with his usual humour. Given that we have 2 enormous strikers at the Schwerpunkt of our attack, should we be not hitting crosses from the byline rather than trendy inverted crosses? New word for Knocker. I think that means like a focal point of attack, maybe. I don't know. I'm not.
It's a German sausage.
Yeah, it sounds good, mate. I've got to be honest. Yeah, down the Christmas market, you will meet there and have some Schwer plunked. But yeah, this is a really good point from Bobby, apart from his usual Mickey taking. And this is a thing that we talked about a little while ago. I think I mentioned it in terms of the fullbacks getting forward, stopping, cutting back, and then having sort of an inverted cross. Why aren't we hitting the byline? And again, this sort of feeds into what we're saying about Strand Larsen. Drop the shoulder, get to the byline, whip that crossing. That we've got two massive centre forwards, and if we're playing Marshall Monetti, he can do that as well. This is what I was talking about a minute ago, Nocky. Play to your strengths. If you're going to get it in there, stop messing around and going backwards and forwards. Get to the byline. Centre forwards like feeding, and for me, he's absolutely right. There's this trendy thing that sort of pet ball started, but we aren't Man City. We're Wolverhampton Wanderers, and we're struggling. Let's get back to basics. Basics, and if you're going to play those big guys, let's get to the byline and get some crosses in.
I agree, and this is one of my frustrations with Hugo. He chops back far too often rather than hitting the ball on the run. Jackson, potentially, he seems to have a decent cross on him. We just don't get the ball in the box. We don't put it in with any kind of it. I mean, look at our set pieces. I know we've had a couple of goals from set pieces, but generally they're wretched, aren't they? We don't beat the first man, or we overhit it, and we don't deliver a decent ball in the box. I think that's the only time, if you were to have Strand Larsen and Toller one, which we had for the finale of the game, we just didn't put any decent quality into the box. So it's a real frustration, especially with Hugo, because he's got that little step over and he's got the ability to make a yard, but his delivery is just really poor at the moment. So it is really, really frustrating. It just feeds into where we are, isn't it? We're just tactically, we're really poor. And also, the balls that you think should get there just don't. They're either Larsen's made a different run or we slightly overhit it. We're in that little rut where everything's going against us. It's like the own goal, isn't it? I mean, that's a 1 in a million own goal. It just doesn't happen at this level, but it did. And it's just where we are at the minute. Everything that could go against us is.
Just on that point that Bobby makes, other than his Mickey taking aside, Chachwa, again, this is a guy that's ridiculously quick. Why is he not taking people on? Like, it's such a simple thing in football. I don't want you to play a nice little triangle with Manetzi or Joe Gomez because they're not going to create anything. What I want you to do is stand up your man, push it 3 yards and whip that crossing. You've got massive centre forwards. You've got Marshall Monetti. If we're going to play those guys, play to your strengths. Stop messing around with silly little triangles. We're not Man City. We're not Arsenal. We're in trouble. Let's play to our strengths. Bobby, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves Report. We're an hour and 2 minutes in of episode 141 of the Wolves Report. Mark, like myself, Ryan Esther. Currently got 1,510 listeners. You absolutely crazy bastards. But thank you. One more question, Knocker.
Yeah, go on then. Why not? It's depressed me a bit more.
Okay. What should we have a little look at? We covered that earlier on. Here we go. Here's a bit of a stinker for us. Wayne says, on a scale of 1 to 10, what score would you give the transfer window and what score would you give VP? We're an hour and 3 minutes in, Knocky. We haven't really got any time for your 15-minute monologues now. So let's... For me, there's one good signing so far, and that's Krejci. He's come in. He looks like he's made a difference. I mean, we're on 2 points. God knows what we'd have without him. Everyone else is flat to deceive. Some of the guys sometimes aren't even getting in the match day squad. So for me, as it stands, it's a 2 out of 10 for the transfer window. And as for VP this season, he has lost his best players, but he has to take some responsibility. I'm going to give him a 2 as well. So 2 out of 10 for VP and a 2 out of 10 for the transfer window. Knocky.
Krejci's a good signing, but collectively the window is a -2 out of 10 because it's we've never. This is the worst window relative to the league we're in that we've ever had. It was absolute bomb damage that we did to ourselves, so I can't even give it a score. In terms of VP, I think with the mistakes he's made, he's a 0 out of 10 as well. We haven't won a game, have we? I don't think there's any praise you can dish out when we
win the League Cup. There might be in Europe. I told you that.
It's a -2 and a 0.
Wayne, thanks for another one of your stinkers. Knocky, we are at the end of the show. 1,523 live viewers. Thank you so much. On Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, Sky have picked an absolute blockbuster. If you can't get a ticket, you may struggle. Sit yourself down in your local pub and watch Sky Sports Super Sunday, where Wolverhampton Wanderers take on Burnley. Did I sound sincere then? I don't know. Knocky, tell me about the team. How are we going to line up?
I think if you want to get yourself a ticket, they're only about 55, 60 quid, so feel free. How are we going to line up?
Free for this, but go on.
I think it'll be similar. I think Jackson probably comes in for Doherty. he may want a little bit more pace on that side because Burnley will sit in quite deep and look to break. They're good defensively. They're pretty resolute. They're very organised, got a good shape. And they'll look to turn over possession and break and hit us in the wide areas. So I think you'll want a little bit of pace on that side. I don't see many changes to the team at all. I think Strand Larsen probably keeps his place. The back two won't change, I don't think. Hugo's not going to change. The only one potentially, it's either Doherty, Hoover, or Jackson as right back. Either one of them three could come in. Other than that, I'm struggling to see any changes. I don't know if Hwang's going to be fit or not. If he is, he probably comes straight back in. If not, I'm sure he'll stick with Rodrigo.
I think the main changes for me, I think Chachwa has to come in. Again, no disrespect to Doc, but we need energy, we need legs. And if Burnley are going to let us have the ball, we need fullbacks that are going to be up there that can make a difference. Doc isn't that player now. Chachwa comes in for me. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever why Strand Larsen starts that game. Tolu has to start for me.
Will he, though? I mean, I know that's what you want, and what I want is Tolu, but what will he do?
Yeah, well, we can keep repeating the same thing and getting this and the same problems. Surely he said it himself. How many managers say this is a must-win game for us? He's already heaped on loads of pressure on himself and his players. So if we keep repeating it and we lose, he deserves to get sacked. So Tolu has to start. He's an absolute handful. He did more in that small amount of time than Strand Larsen did the whole game. No question about it. Even if he's not winning the ball, he's causing chaos around him, and we need a bit of that. I think Arias has to start because he's the only one that looks like he can cross the ball if he's in the opponent's third. I'd probably keep Rodrigo, to be honest. I'm not really sure. I'd probably make two changes. That's all I would do. But let's be more positive. Let's be more attacking. If you've got three in midfield, if you've got Andre, Joe Gomez, and Marshall Monetzi, both your fullbacks should be able to get as high as they want, as often as they want, because you've almost got three defensive midfielders tucking in. Let your fullbacks get up. Let's get some width. Let's get Arias a little bit narrower. Let's get Rodrigo on the ball a little bit more. Let's feed Tolu, see what we can do. Hopefully we can do that. As mentioned previously, thank you so much for your support in the show. If you can like and subscribe on YouTube, formerly as Twitter, it goes into Spotify afterwards, and we're also on Facebook as well. Your support is very much appreciated. Here's the bit I've not been looking forward to. It's prediction time, Nocky. Tyler's texting and he said 14-0 to Burnley with 14 Arias own goals. So I'm touch and go with that one. But yeah, give me your prediction. Give me something, Nocky, anything at all.
I've been really negative, so I want to finish on a positive, but...
What, is this your last ever show then? What do you mean finish?
we're shit though, aren't we? I think.
There's that swear word used.
I just think I think they're very organised. I don't think we'll break them down. I think there'll be a big issue with the way they turn over possession, and I think we're going to lose the game 2-1.
You said you were going to be positive?
I said I wanted to be positive.
Well, for goodness sake, just lie to the listeners and say we're going to win.
I can't do it. I don't like lying. I said we were going to beat Sunderland. Look how that ended. So what do I know?
But yeah, you've been banned on Twitter now. People have actually closed the word sneaky, and when you block words,
yeah,
sneaky's been blocked on Twitter for good. I can't predict us to lose. I'm struggling to predict us to draw. I don't believe for a second Wolves are going to win, but I'm going to predict a win. It's going to be Wolves 1, Tolu, Burnley 0. I'm going to score after 2 minutes. We're going to put all the centre backs on, and we're going to defend for 89 minutes. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. This has been episode 141 of the Wolves Report. Nocky, much love. Thanks as always for being on part of the show of the Wolves.